The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA, says humanitarian aid entering Gaza dropped by half this month.
It comes after several countries, including the US, paused their donations following allegations that several UNRWA staff members were involved in the October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas. UNRWA has warned that it will have to cease operations if it does not receive fresh funds soon. Sally Patterson with more.
Gaza's largest humanitarian organisation on the brink of collapse. Around $450 million of funding for the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees has been suspended by key donors. The UN says if it doesn't resume soon, operations could grind to a halt across the Middle East.
At this point, the outlook for UNRWA and the millions of people it serves, not only in Gaza, but also in East Jerusalem, in the West Bank, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria, is very bleak.
Last month, Israel alleged at least 12 UNRWA staff, including a teacher and a social worker, were involved in the October 7th attacks by Hamas, which left 1,200 Israelis dead and hundreds taken hostage. The agency distributes aid, runs schools, healthcare facilities and other services for Palestinians. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called for UNRWA to be closed and replaced with other international aid agencies. The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says he was horrified by the allegations against UNRWA staff. He continues to stress that the UN acted swiftly and says any employee involved in acts of terror will be held responsible. But it could take some time for the UN agency to regain the trust of donors it relies on to survive. 2 investigations are underway, one by the United Nations Office of Internal Oversight Services, as well as an independent review.
What the independent review group will do is investigate, I repeat, how UNRWA works with neutrality, as it must. We will specifically clarify the mechanisms, the process in place, the structures, and see if they ensure neutrality as they should.
UNRWA also operates in the West Bank, Syria, Lebanon and Jordan. Humanitarian groups there say budgets are stretched.
With the war in Gaza, shops are impacted, people are impacted because of the food prices, they don't have jobs anymore, and so even before the crisis, we already struggled with funding and the needs were high. Now the needs are even much higher. So it's really urgently required that we get more funds to help those people in need who are really suffering because of the impact of the Gaza war in the West Bank.
While the situation around UNRWA has come to a head in recent weeks, Israel and the aid agency have never seen eye to eye. It claims at least 10% of the agency's staff are affiliated with Palestinian armed groups in Gaza and has long accused it of handing out anti-Semitic educational material and promoting terrorism, something it denies.
It's really hard to separate UNRWA's political significance from its humanitarian role. You know, one of the reasons the agency has been around since 1949 is that it's premised on the idea of, you know, Palestinian refugees in Gaza and elsewhere having the right to return to their homelands upon a final settlement of the dispute between Palestine and Israel. So as a result, Palestinians view the agency's survival as integral to their political claims. Similarly, Israel, for those very same reasons, views UNRWA as a threat to their own legitimacy and statehood.
The UN says there's nothing which can substitute UNRWA in the near future. And as the standoff between the agency and its funders continues, time is running out to get aid to those who need it most. Sally Patterson at the UN headquarters in New York.